CFA Nation, Gabe,
Nick,
and we are here today to bring you another installment of
Cricket Tuesday.
Super excited for this one, Nick. You know, I'm fiending. First week of school for us. I had not watched a cricket game since we got back from Texas. Only a little bit of highlights, you know what I mean, here and there. Exactly, bro. I'm like, oh my gosh. And, you know, obviously, keep up, Crick Buzz or whatnot. My man Sky, of course, when at work. But when we're talking about cricket, we're talking about being able to understand, like, the audience is growing and the talent is out there. You asked me a question about how was it when I was sitting down watching the team I was rooting for. Not, by the way, Texas Super Kings, but I was hating against Mumbai. I was hating. So, not that I'm an Orcas fan, but I was sitting there hating against Mumbai. And it was like, how was it? At first, I was like, oh, come on. But then you got to respect the other side. And I think players feel that way too, where, you know, when another great does something that's just phenomenal, or is just like so breathtaking, you just respect. Like, what are you gonna do? You tip your hat. Even in the press conference afterward, they were talking to the bowlers on the other side. I forgot who it was. It was like, when a guy's that hot, you can't do anything other than just, you know what I mean? You shrug your shoulders. Wow, the guy is hot. He's doing something great. And I think that even when you are, for instance, you know, recently Stuart Broad retired. Stuart Broad was somewhat of a controversial figure in Tisch cricket. And he always had something to say. But I think people respected that, hey, this is the second leading wicket taker of all time in England. And even though, you know, he had some fun trolling, whether it was the Aussies or people still respected him. You know what I mean? There's that mutual respect. And I think that that's one of the cool things about cricket.
I wish I had that mutual respect for you. It would make life so much easier. No, it's awesome. And honestly, it really, really is. In baseball, I'm a huge Padres fan. You guys hear me complain about them all the time. They suck. Their biggest rivals are the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, they are like Australia, cricket Australia. The only difference is they don't ever win the championship, very rarely. But they're always there every single time, and they're a thorn in the Padres' side. They have a player named Mookie Betts, who I didn't know too much when the Dodgers got him. And I hate the Dodgers, but I absolutely love Mookie Betts just because of the kind of player he is. Right. There was a time, and I don't ever see any baseball players do it. There was a time where he, it was either a check swing, and it was a ball that was about to be called strike, or he didn't check his swing. Right. And before the umpire called him out, he went, yep, and he turned around. You don't see that in baseball. You see that in cricket all the time. He walked in baseball. You never see it. If he gets out in an egregious call, he will rarely ever show any emotion or show up the umpire. Everyone does it in baseball. I don't know how there was a play where he came sliding in, and Machado, the third baseman, thought he tagged him out, so they had instant replay in baseball. So he's going right away because he's that confident. And right away, Mookie Betts, who's very calm, he's just, you know you're not right about that. Right. And he started dancing, and he was safe by a mile. Yeah. I love this guy, but I can't stand the team he's on.
What's crazy is Mookie Betts is one of those players where if you're a baseball fan, you cannot like him. He would actually be a cricketer, because you know how cricket's a gentleman's game? Mookie Betts is a gentleman. I say that for two reasons. I've met him personally. He came after the Red Sox won the 2020, or maybe I think it was 2016 championship. He was at the mansion with all the Red Sox. And, you know, it's Vegas. People get wild. But one of the only sober dudes there was Mookie Betts. And he was so, like, cordial. And even as a Yankee fan, same thing. He gets rung up. Yep. He'll start walking first, which is basically saying, yeah, I know I'm out.
Never see that in baseball.
A class act, and even Yankee fans respect him. Like, oh my gosh, Mookie Betts, how can you hate this guy? And when you have and earn that kind of respect from the other side, it's just like a crazy thing. So it's funny that Padre fans, which are rivals with the Dodgers, love Mookie Betts and respect him. Same thing for Yankee fans.
Yankee fans, yeah, that is pretty funny. Symmetry there. So we're gonna check out this video, Respected Emotional Moments in Cricket. We've seen many emotional moments in all different types of sports, and they're fantastic. I would say NHL hockey is probably my fourth favorite sports in the U.S., but I'll never forget, I think it was back in 2000, Raymond Bourque, who I didn't know anything about him, but I was watching the playoff run. 20 years in the NHL, never won a championship, won it in his very last game of his career, lifts that cup, and everyone feels that emotion. It just... Those are the moments where you're like, this is why you can't script sports. It's already scripted in its own way. We're going to go and check this out. If you like our video reaction anyway, please don't forget to
like and subscribe. Bro, people got choked up when Stuart Broad announced it. Teammates, people on the other side, like, because it was out of nowhere. It's just crazy.
The one that really got choked up was UV because he's like, oh, I'll never get to face him again in T20 for sure.
Oh,
here we go. Is that one player stretching out the other? That's pretty cool. Wow.
Over the world for the exploits and
that's cool. Both teams won.
Here we go. Please say yes.
please
say yes. Yes. Strategy. Yeah, well done. Confirmation.
I always feel weird about that though, because what did they say no?
A risky play, isn't it?
Dude.
It is a risky play.
Balls. Yeah, I remember that.
I do remember that. That was right after COVID. This was the first match you and I ever saw. First match, England versus West Indies.
I do remember that, and the crazy thing about that is you forget sometimes that whether you want to call it discrimination or whether you want to call it whatever, persecution, it's not just a local thing. It's not just an American thing. It's worldwide. And to see the West Indies and England in solidarity with the kneeling, that's just amazing. I mean, look up the history on how the kneeling worked with a lot of the American sports. The fans were not happy about it. These guys said, I don't care about that. I just love that.
Yeah, it was definitely it was such a moving thing, and especially because cricket was one of the first major, not major, but one of the first major sports coming back amidst the pandemic, right? Yeah. Everything else was shut down, so it was just nationalized. Or televised, I should say, nationally, which is, again, how we got into watching cricket. It was one of the only things on, that and badminton, right? There was like badminton on. I remember wanting to see any sport. Come on, something to bet on. But when I was watching it, it was emotional because we had just gone through the whole George Floyd and all the protests here in town. So, yeah, that was crazy that they put that up there.
Was Kaepernick the first to kneel?
Kaepernick was the first. Well, he was the first to kneel, but not the first to have the protest during the game. The first to have the protest during the game during worldwide events where I can't remember, but there was the 2 Black Panthers who went to the Olympics.
Oh, yeah. And that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Modern times.
Correct. Yes. But in modern times, it was
the guys that put the hands up.
Correct.
First in gold and silver, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Take that.
there we go again.
Don't need help.
That's everywhere. It's an absolute nightmare.
That was Tony and Pop.
I've been here before.
Long-time teammates.
Every time you twitch a muscle, it grabs.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. I got your back, brother.
Just playing through it.
Awesome.
Playing through that pain. That's... Whoa.
What is this? You're saying goodbye to him? I don't know that one.
I need to know the story behind that.
He's hit him again. He's hit him again. And what a spirit of cricket that is. This is the spirit of cricket I'm talking about. He can run him out. He's on the floor. He says no.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Gotta say, I love that.
The
competitor side of me doesn't like that, but I love that because you're right, you don't.
Wow, I was gonna say, with all the recent what do you call it, the man-catting that's going on, all the stuff that had happened with England, with Johnny Bairstow and the stumps getting knocked off, like you see this, that was a clear run out. I would not fault him if he did it there. You know what I mean?
I would have assumed he would have got the run out and then checked on the player, and he still would have been applauded for checking on the player. But he just said, not like this.
Wow, that's more powerful in my opinion than just walking. Then, I know I'm out, I'm walking, even though I'm not taking the review. Because in cricket, remember, if you walk, doesn't matter if you take a review, you're gone. You're giving yourself up, right? So, I don't know. That's in my opinion, it's more because a wicket's so valuable, and as a bowler, you're giving up that wicket. That's crazy.
It's fair play. That's awesome.
finger, smashed that into his pads.
Oh, this is when they called him back because he wasn't
I
out.
remember we had seen this before.
Well, there you go. Look at this. He smashed it into his pads. What a magnificent gesture.
Well, I think what's happened here is Peter Manuel got to compliment Peter Manuel for that.
Jeez.
Just giving up. Wow.
Let him go.
That should be 2 at least. Not great angle.
Had crossed at the time the bails actually come off. Now here's Bell walking past Morgan. There he is. Morgan's still in his crease, so I think Bell.
And I would think it's Ian Bell that's out because he was the man who took.
Which again is unfortunate, I think, because I'm sure that the dressing room asked MS Dhoni to withdraw his appeal. Well, maybe the applause.
We watched something about this. It was a while
what
ago.
has clearly happened here, unbeknownst to us, drawn his appeal. So let's put it all to one side. There's huge applause now. MS Dhoni has gone from villain to hero.
Pitch, here we go. It works at leg side. That could well be it. First ball after the break, it will be.
That's awesome.
Nice Phil Hughes, and that's terrific
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Wow. Yep.
The end of this innings, Tendulkar is on the slow march back. Tendulkar did not wait for the decision. He knew he had just chipped it to slip.
Dude,
and
that's
he's
just
on his
like,
way
again,
back.
wow.
And once again, like Sachin Tendulkar, Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar, thank you.
To get out on an edge or a chip back and just walk like, yeah, I know I'm out. Don't wait for a decision. Don't try to get saved. That's why Sachin, man. You know what I mean? I think the Phil Hughes one with Aussies got me. You know, I root for Australia. But whenever you talk about the mortality of a player, like, you know, these guys are performing sport activities that can cost them their life. You know what I mean? So at any time when you look at that, you're like, wow, it's a rare occasion, but I think that heavy hearts were there when that happened. I'm interested about the story and the backstory. If you guys know, you know, what happened there with that clip, like what I was kind of confused with the guy that came on.
Ian Bell?
Well, no, with the Ian Bell situation, I think that maybe the umpire had got it wrong or whatnot, and Dhoni was like something to that effect. That was just saying, okay.
If I'm not wrong, I think it was in between session, like at the session break or whatever.
Right.
They had figured it out, and when they came back out, they made it right. I can't remember, but I remember I was reacting to something about that.
Right. How about you? Which one like really resonated with you?
I don't know if it's because it's the end of the first week of school where it's a little tiring, but I was getting emotional with the Ian Bell one, honestly. Just like the good spirit and the good nature of Dhoni to be like, I don't care if we're in hostile territory, England or whatever it is. This isn't right. We're gonna make this right and whatever. And then right after that was the Phil Hughes one. And the fact that, again, cricket, you're not going to first think it's a dangerous sport where someone can lose their life, but it can happen, as we've seen. Right. And the fact that Smith was able to perform, I mean, he's a great player, but you're not always going to get a century. Right. And he's walking out there by, I'm assuming that's his test number, 408. And that really, really got me a little emotional. And it made me think instantly, again, of baseball when, what was his name? What was the kid's name? Jose Hernandez from the Marlins. Yeah, young guy, flamethrower, just had the season of his life as like a 22, 23-year-old.
Jose Fernandez.
And he got in this boat accident, died, lost his life. And then it was either the very next game when they resumed play or whatever it was, D. Gordon, leadoff hitter, who's like a $130 soaking wet. I'm not trying to be rude, but he's not a powerful guy. Hits a no-doubt home run like on the first pitch of the game. And he's walking around, and he can't even cross home plate before he loses it. He's just crying, and he tips it, and that was such a sad situation. But the fact that, I mean, it's just like, that's where sports just don't make sense because, yes, D. Gordon's hit some home runs in his career.
Right.
But he just demolished that ball, and that's not usually his game.
Right.
Was just, that kind of reminded me of that, and that really got me. I love any time that anybody is able to put themselves above the situation. You know, you go to church, you talk to your kids, we're teachers, you talk to your students, and you tell them, you got to be the bigger person. You got to make the right decision. And these are people on TV who you would actually excuse if they weren't the bigger man, and they're leading that example, and that pumps me up.
You know, ultimately, I think that sometimes sports brings the best and the worst out of us, right? Because sometimes that competitive nature can bring the worst out of you, but at the same time, it can bring the best out of you because you see that fair play, that genuine, you know what I mean? I remember when I was boxing, dude, like, for the most part, 99% of fighters, whether you, and I'm sure it's like this in UFC and any sport, you never really want to hurt the other person. You want to win. You want to go in there and compete. But at the same time, I don't have any ill will or any ill intentions to go in there and end somebody, because that person's got to feed their family. That person's got to, and there has been many cases like Rocky Marciano. I remember him talking about one of the worst moments of his life was when he killed somebody in the ring. You know what I mean? Rocky Marciano, you know, killed a guy, one punch, done. The guy's dead. And it was a haunting thing to him, to the point where he said the rest of his career he held back. Like, it was hard for him to even get back in the ring because he knew, but it was like, now I can't like go. And again, it's one of those things where you don't walk in there with you walk in with a competitive spirit, but at the same time, you understand that it's like a fraternity, it's a brotherhood, you know what I mean? And I think that from that perspective, and that's why I enjoy sports and I have all my kids play as well, because in life, you also got to learn how to lose. I think sometimes adults so many times forget, whether it's at a job, whether it's in a career, whether it's in business, you know, some of these politicians just don't know how to lose. But the reality is sometimes we got to take an L, right? Two people come in, we can't both win.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
Right? Losing is a part of living. Just like I tell my students, failure is a part of learning. You know, the acronym FAIL stands for first attempt in learning. It's your first attempt in learning anything. And I just, man, this was a great video. If for anything else, every one of my kids have played sports. And not because I think they're going to be professional athletes and I'm pushing them, but I think it really teaches them about becoming humble. It teaches them to lose. It teaches them to for the first time, I told you, one of my kids, you know, didn't make a team, you know, went out to try out, the first time he didn't make a team, and it really like, wow, but he was already humbled and he was already like, I got to work on this, I got to work on that, you know what I mean? I got to get better, and that's what I want to see, because it makes you really self-reflect. And for all you parents that are raising kids right now, it doesn't matter if you don't go into it thinking, oh, I'm not going to put my kid in there because, you know, he's not put him in there. It doesn't matter. It'll teach them competitiveness, but at the same time, it'll teach them to be humble, and it'll teach them that, you know, failure is a part of the process.
You can't succeed without failure. I mean, there's so many great sayings out there. We can talk about this forever. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time.
That's 6 runs.